Hey guys, OgreBarberian here. We had a special request today because of the Ivy Hero Challenge. I was asked if I could go in depth into Ivy a little bit, and legendaries and all that other fun stuff. So I've used Ivy a bit. I'm not gonna lie, I don't use her all the time. I don't main her at all. That's for sure. But she does play well with the bleed team. She does look really awesome. I think both of her looks, the regular and legendary, are both pretty cool. Um, She has a gear set that makes her a physical support. And at gear 11, she would actually have a 35 speed and plus, I believe, another 4,000 HP. So she doesn't really specialize in damage. And her kit makes that painfully obvious with only one damaging move, which is her basic. Or Snap Trap. The main draw of this move is the speed down. It's kind of cool. She's the, I believe, only physical character who can apply speed down. I'm not really 100% sure on that. But the upgrade for this one is gain 2 speed ups. So it's nice. It's not really needed. She is really slow. But you can probably get away with this one if you only have a couple of legendary points. You don't need it per se, but it is a nice one to have later on if you get her to higher legendaries. Then we have her Pheromone Kiss, which applies the taunt, some stamina ups, and then the legendary applies crit immunity, which is pretty darn cool when you apply this to a tank who has either shields or mends or something like that, to where they can just take a beating. So somebody like Bane, if you don't have his crit immunity, somebody like Grundy, who gets agility ups constantly, so he'd be reducing the damage anyway. Just anybody in general can make good use of this. It is designed to protect her, but in the same token, it allows the tanks who don't have a taunt, hint hint camo, that really would like to taunt, hint hint camo, or have a passive ability that, where they get hit, they apply different effects, like Chemo, who applies a bleed whenever he gets hit. So it's a good overall ability. This is her main draw, I think. It's definitely one of her better moves. And then you have Toxin Transfer, which is a heavy heal to an ally, move up to 3 debuffs from target onto a random enemy, and it does okay healing. It's not super heavy because she doesn't have the intelligence necessary to make it like really good. She falls into the same category as Batman World's Greatest Detective. Again, she's a physical support. She's not really designed to heal. She does have it, and it's more for the debuff transferring that you're looking for in this one. And the upgrade for it is up to 3 additional debuffs are moved from an ally on a random enemy. So you can move up to 6 debuffs. That's a lot. That is a lot of debuffs. And it just kind of randomly distributes throughout the enemy team. So it's pretty cool in that aspect. It's definitely worth an upgrade if you have the point, but you don't necessarily need to take it early. Alright, and then we go down to her Cross-Pollinate. And this is her probably best move for PvE. You can just transfer around all kinds of stupid buffs. So what it is, you apply some stamina ups, and then you transfer around all of the... you copy up to 3 random buffs from an ally to the rest of the team. Now, in instances like Flash, who has speed ups that are permanent, the transferred buff has the same duration as the original buff. So his buffs are permanent, therefore anybody who gains the speed up is going to have a permanent speed up. You saw me abuse this in the Hero Challenge video where I used Flash to literally give my whole team a 200 plus speed. The legendary for this is copy an additional 3 buffs at random. So, sorry, it copies them twice, rather. So it's going to take the same 3 buffs, copy them twice. So if you get 2 speed ups and a stamina up, it's going to copy 4 speed ups and 2 stamina ups. You can't get randomly 5 speed ups and 1 stamina up. It just doesn't work like that. So it's definitely one that you want to pick early on if you're going to use her a lot in PvE, like the hero challenges and different things like that. So she's definitely an all-star in the hero challenges. If you compare her with, you know, the right characters, people like Flash, people like Doomsday, Hippolyta as a leader, her stamina ups are permanent also. You know, things like that are permanent buffs just become obnoxious. She can also be paired with like a Huntress who's gotten rolling and has a bunch of evasion ups to give your whole team evasion at least. You know, it makes her some good shenanigans. It makes her a lot of fun. She's not a character that you're going to take to deal damage. Her draw is not damage, as I've already stated. So, and then her final ability, her passive, Anaphylactic Touch. She gives the chance to give a strength down, and I believe it maxes out at 100%. 60, 70, 100, yeah, 100% for a strength down. And the legendary on it is for an additional strength down. So up to 2 strength downs. So it's cool, but it's one of those abilities that you don't really want her getting hit in the first place. And her Pheromone Kiss is going to try to make it so she doesn't get hit. But at the same time, if she does get hit by an AoE, you know, she's going to reduce the strength of somebody who hit her. So it's definitely a fun ability if you're looking for that sort of thing. One of the crazier things you can do with her is actually, you know, taunt herself, have everybody hit her, and then as long as you have a way to make it so she doesn't die, you know, with death immunity, damage immunity. So it's oh wait, you don't want to give damage immunity because it says they have to damage poison ivy, so it doesn't work that way. But if you can give a bunch of shield, overheal, a bunch of affinity resistance, you know, just find a way to make her really, really tanky. She can reduce the strength of the opponents that hit her even more. So it's entertaining at the very least. So, and, you know, I would say you probably want her at a minimum of L1 with either Cross-Pollinate or Pheromone Kiss. Pheromone Kiss is probably the better for PvP, and Cross-Pollinate is probably the better for PvE. And then her other upgrades are they're nice, but again, you don't need them per se. So it really depends on what you're doing with her. I would say L1, L2 is probably a good, comfortable spot for her, but if you can get her to L4, L5, by all means, all of her skills are worthwhile. If you can get her to L4, you probably don't take Anaphylactic Touch. It's probably her worst ability. If you only get her to L3, you're probably picking between the 2 speed ups and the 3 additional debuffs moved. It really depends on what your team lacks. If they lack Purging, you're going to take the 3 additional debuffs removed. If they don't, you're going to take the speed up to kind of speed her up because she is very slow. So, and her Pheromone Kiss is only on a 2-turn cooldown, so it does come up quite frequently, and it lasts for 2 turns as well. So that is another big draw for her. So we're going to go over some teams real quick and some synergies with her. The first one we have Enchantress, Bane, Poison Ivy, and Cheetah. Cheetah is there just to speed up the rest of the team to get them to their first turns, because you need to hit your first turn in order to set up your survivability. Enchantress is the leader, so that she can get Bane that overheal immediately, and he'll start proccing his passive for the legendary effect of his passive, rather, to just start punching people randomly. Both Enchantress and Bane can apply strength downs if they have the correct legendaries. Ivy's going to taunt Bane. He's going to start proccing his passive constantly. You know, that's the whole idea, is that Bane is literally going to protect everybody else, and then they're going to dish out plenty of damage just because they're untouched. And then Bane is just going to become this absolute monster because his passive continues to proc constantly. So he should not go down, and the girls should be just fine in the meantime. Alright, second team, we got Lex Luthor, Assault Warsuit, Steppenwolf, Poison Ivy, and Dr. Fate. Now, the idea with this one is that Lex Luthor, Assault Warsuit, wants characters who can buff him. So that's why Steppenwolf and Dr. Fate, because they both have team-wide buffs. Steppenwolf's not being able to, hit chance ups, and Dr. Fate's hit chance ups allow you to deal with like Harley Quinn, Huntress, evaders in general. Lex Luthor packs a pretty darn good purge on his third ability. If you have it legendary, it can't miss. It has a plus 100% chance to hit, rather. And it purges, I think, 8 buffs. Gives them like 5 strength downs. It's pretty nasty. And then Ivy's going to taunt Lex. And Lex also has damage immunity on his second ability, if you took that legendary also. So for this team really to work, you kind of want Lex at like L2, L3. But everybody's also going to be gaining shields off of buffing Lex. And, some turn meter out of it too. So it also speeds up the team. So it's pretty well balanced, I think. It has some good overall synergies. Alright, next one. We got Captain Cold, Doomsday, Poison Ivy, and Wonder Woman. And the idea with this one is that Ivy is going to taunt either Doomsday or Wonder Woman, depending on the matchup. And then you're going to use Doomsday to just continually punch. So he builds up all his buffs. Captain Cold is going to be able to counterattack a whole bunch. Wonder Woman is going to be able to purge off debuffs along with Poison Ivy from your team so that they can stay clean. And then eventually Poison Ivy can transfer all the buffs off of Doomsday onto everybody and they all just become monsters. So that's the idea with this one. Alright, and this is the PvE special. This will take down just about any boss that you can even think of. Flash is there for his permanent speed ups. Cheetah is there for bleeds and turn meter to get everything started. Ivy's going to transfer around the buffs off of Flash and give everybody speed. In the meantime, Medfill's granting everybody meter and shield as everybody's taking their turns, so they're all going to be completely shielded by the end of it probably, except for himself. But you're going to use Ivy to taunt Medfill to give himself damage immunity, or Ivy can taunt herself and damage immunity from Medfill. You get the idea. Medfill and Ivy work pretty well together as far as taunting and damage immunity. And they're both 2 turns if you have Medfill's upgrade to his... If you have Medfill's upgrade to his damage immunity. So they both last the same amount of time. So, and again, Medfill's speeding up the slow Ivy because Flash and Cheetah are both obnoxiously fast anyway, so Medfill's passive, leadership, as long as it hits Ivy a couple of times, will speed her up fairly nicely. Alright, I know this team looks really weird, but hear me out. So Batman World Series Detective leadership ability, maxed out, I believe it's like a 13% chance to purge a buff when any of your team deals damage, right? So the idea here is that Chemo is going to be the main tank, and Ivy's going to taunt Chemo, who is going to spread around his bleeds. He's going to be using his Fallout to slow everybody down, make them lose some turn meter. And he also can stack his mends, so it's a great way to heal the team, because that's the only buff he's going to have. So Ivy can, when she transfers the buffs, it'll transfer around those mends. That's kind of nice. You also have World's Greatest Detective Batman to reduce the cooldown of Ivy's taunt, and of Chemo's bleed and Fallout, and just you reduce the cooldowns on those and they just get kind of silly. You can apply a lot of speed downs that way. And then Swamp Thing, if you have the legendary on his Force of Nature, his number 2, reduces the turn meter of opponents by 14%. So that's actually pretty large. 14% is pretty good. It also applies a strength down. It's also an AoE, so it hits everybody. So Swamp Thing also, on his basic, can apply mends to random ally. So again, Ivy can transfer those mends. So the team is just really, really tanky and really, really good at sustaining. So I can't think of too many teams in PvE. This team is just going to kind of stroll along. They're definitely not fast. They're not going to move very quickly at all. but they're just kind of stroll along through the entire content and just get to the end and be like, hey, we're good. Because there shouldn't be a way for them to take you down. You have heals off of Ivy and Batman and Camo and Swamp Thing. You have heals all over the place. You have meter control with Swamp Thing and Camo. You have speed down with Camo and Ivy. You have buff purging on everybody thanks to Batman. Might be a low chance, but it's there. So I really think this team has a lot of potential, and if I had my Swamp Thing a little higher in gear, I would probably take it into battle at some point and show you guys. So I'm probably going to work on Swamp Thing here at some point. Especially if I can get below L2, then he'll have bleeds. Alright, and so the last one, this one is another interesting one. And I really couldn't figure out a good tank for the team. So I went with Grendy on this one, just because I love Grendy. He's really, really in a good position right now. But the idea is that Green Arrow's leadership ability gives negative turn meter and strength down and agility down. And then you have Mara, who can grant turn meter up and damage immunity. And then you have Ivy, who can give the taunt. And then Grundy can actually taunt. So the team can literally hide behind the giant zombie wall forever. Because the team is fairly slow. Grundy's the slowest character in the game. Ivy's not terribly fast. But then you have Emerald Archer, who's slowing down the opponents. He's very quick. You have Mara granting turn meter to your team as they mend. Like, you have a lot of potential here to just take control of the battlefield very quickly. And I think it's really good potential here to just kind of wreck opponents that are unprepared for this kind of synergy. So, but anyway, that's about all I got for you guys today on Ivy. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. As always, enjoy and grind on.